The first time Elena Carter saw Vincent Moretti, he was standing beside a black limousine in the rain, dressed in a perfectly tailored suit, looking like a man who had never once been told no. She had heard his name long before she saw his face. Vincent Moretti, CEO of Moretti Holdings, billionaire, powerful businessman, and according to everyone in Chicago who whispered his name, the most dangerous man in the city. People called him the Iron Wolf. Elena had never believed in monsters, until the night her father told her she was going to marry one. "I'm sorry, sweetheart." Her father's voice trembled. Elena stared at him across the kitchen table. Sorry for what? Her father lowered his eyes. Outside, rain hammered against the windows of their small house. "Your debt," he whispered. Elena frowned. "What about it?" "He knows." "Who?" Her father's silence answered before his words did. "Vincent Moretti." Elena felt the color drain from her face. "No." Her father swallowed. "He paid off the bank." "What?" "He paid everything." Elena stood so quickly that her chair scraped across the floor. "How much?" $2 million. Her mouth fell open. "You owe $2 million? Her father looked ashamed. "I made some bad decisions." "Bad decisions?" Elena laughed bitterly. "You gambled our house away?" "I was trying to save the restaurant." "You lied to me." "I was trying to protect you." "You didn't protect me, Dad. You sold my future." Her father reached for her hand. "Elena, please." She pulled away. "What does Vincent Moretti want?" Her father's eyes filled with tears. "He wants you to marry him." The room went silent. For several seconds, Elena couldn't breathe. Then she whispered, "No." 2 days later, Elena stood inside Moretti Mansion. It looked less like a home and more like a palace. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, guards stationed at every entrance, tall windows overlooking acres of private land. And at the end of the enormous living room stood Vincent Moretti. He was even more intimidating than she had imagined. Tall, broad-shouldered, dark-haired. His expression was cold enough to make the room feel 10 degrees colder. He looked at Elena, not at her dress, not at her face, straight into her eyes. "You're late." Elena lifted her chin. "I didn't want to come." "I know. Then why did you send someone to drag me here?" Vincent's jaw tightened. "I didn't." "Then who did?" "My father." Elena blinked. "You're telling me you didn't order this?" "No." "Then why am I here?" Vincent walked toward her. He stopped several feet away. "Because my father and yours made an agreement before either of us had a choice." Elena stared at him. "So you expect me to marry you?" "Yes." "You're insane." "I've been called worse." "I don't love you." "I don't expect you to." She wasn't prepared for that answer. "What?" Vincent looked away. "You don't have to love me." "Then why?" "Because if you don't marry me, your father's creditors will take everything." Elena's voice shook. "You could just give me the money." "I could." "Then do it." Vincent was silent. "Why won't you?" "Because money isn't the problem." "What is?" He looked at her again. "Someone else wants you dead." Elena froze. She thought it was another manipulation. Until that night. At 11:47 p.m., Elena returned home with her father. The moment she stepped through the front door, the lights went out. Then came the sound. Crack! A bullet shattered the window. Her father screamed. Elena dropped to the floor. Vincent's security team appeared within seconds. Someone had fired from across the street. By the time police arrived, the shooter was gone. Elena sat on the floor, shaking. Her father wrapped his arms around her. Vincent entered the room. His face had changed. The cold businessman was gone. Something darker had taken his place. He crouched beside Elena. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head. "No." He looked at her hands. They were trembling violently. Vincent gently covered them with his. "Look at me." She did. "You're safe." For the first time, his voice wasn't cold. It was soft, almost painfully gentle. Elena whispered. "Who did that?" Vincent stood. "I'll find out." "And then?" His eyes became hard. "And then I'll make sure they never get close to you again." The wedding happened 3 weeks later. It wasn't the wedding Elena had dreamed about. There was no childhood church, no father walking her down the aisle, no laughing bridesmaids, no happy tears. Instead, she stood inside a private chapel surrounded by security. Vincent stood opposite her. The priest began speaking. Elena barely heard the words. Then Vincent leaned toward her. "If you want to walk away, I'll stop the ceremony." She looked at him in surprise. "You'll let me?" "Yes. But my father, I'll still protect him." "Why?" Vincent looked at her. "Because none of this is your fault." Her eyes filled with tears. "Then why marry me?" His expression softened. "Because if I have to become the villain in your story to keep you alive, I'll accept that." Elena stared at him. For the first time, she wondered if the rumors about Vincent Moretti were wrong. Maybe he wasn't cruel. Maybe he was simply a man who had learned to hide every soft part of himself. She whispered, "I'll stay." The ceremony continued, and Elena Carter became Elena Moretti. Their marriage began with silence. Vincent gave her the largest bedroom in the mansion. She refused it. "I'll sleep in the guest room." "Fine." He never argued. The next morning, Elena discovered a small box outside her door. Inside was a silver bracelet. There was a note. "You don't have to wear it. I just thought you'd like it." No signature. She knew who it was from. She didn't wear it. Not yet. Days passed. Vincent rarely spoke to her. But Elena began noticing things. Every morning, fresh coffee appeared exactly the way she liked it. The temperature in her room was always perfect. Her favorite books began appearing on the shelves. When she mentioned once that she loved roses but hated their thorns, every bouquet afterward came without them. One evening, Elena walked into the kitchen. A housekeeper was preparing dinner. "Who told you I liked chicken pot pie?" The woman smiled. "Mr. Moretti?" Elena frowned. "I never told him that." "He noticed you ordered it 3 times at the restaurant." Elena stared at her. "He noticed that?" The housekeeper smiled. "Mr. Moretti notices everything about you." One night, Elena couldn't sleep. She walked downstairs and found Vincent sitting alone in the library. His tie was loosened. His sleeves were rolled up. He was staring at an old photograph. Elena hesitated. "Can't sleep?" Vincent looked up. "No." "What are you looking at?" He turned the photograph over. "Nothing." She walked closer. "That's obviously not nothing." For some reason, he smiled. It was small, but it was real. "My mother." Elena sat across from him. "What happened to her?" "She died when I was 14. "I'm sorry." Vincent looked down. "My father blamed me." "Why?" "Because she died trying to protect me." Elena's heart tightened. "What happened?" "My father was violent. One night he came after me." Vincent paused. "My mother stepped between us." Elena whispered. "And she died?" Vincent nodded. "After that, I learned something." "What?" "Love makes you vulnerable." Elena looked at him. "That's why you don't love anyone?" Vincent stared into the fireplace. "No." He looked at her. "That's why I love people quietly." Her breath caught. Their relationship changed slowly. Not overnight. Not magically, but one small moment at a time. Vincent never forced affection. He never demanded Elena act like a wife. He gave her space. He respected her boundaries. And whenever she was afraid, he was there. One afternoon, Elena found him outside repairing a broken fence himself. "You're a billionaire." "Yes." "You own companies." "Yes." "You have hundreds of employees." "Yes." "And you're fixing a fence?" Vincent looked at the broken wood. "It's bothering me." She laughed. It was the first time she had laughed around him. Vincent looked at her, and for several seconds he simply watched. "What?" "Nothing." "You're staring." "I know." Elena smiled. "You're strange." "So I've been told." Then everything changed. Elena discovered the truth about her father's debt. She found documents hidden inside Vincent's office. The debt wasn't $2 million. It was only $400,000. Vincent had paid nearly $1.6 million to protect her father from people who wanted revenge. And there was something else. A contract. Vincent had signed an agreement stating that Elena would receive full control of a trust worth $8 million if she ever chose to leave the marriage. Elena stared at the document in disbelief. He had given her an escape. From the beginning, she confronted him that night. You were never going to trap me. Vincent looked up from his desk. No. You could have forced me to stay. I could never make you love me. She placed the contract on his desk. You planned this? I wanted you to have a choice. Why didn't you tell me? Because then it would have looked like I was trying to buy your affection. Elena's eyes filled with tears. You've been protecting me this entire time. Vincent looked away. You deserved better than the life I was born into. She stepped closer. You gave me everything. I gave you safety. You gave me respect. He said nothing. You gave me a choice. Still nothing. Elena whispered. And somehow you became the safest place I've ever known. Vincent's eyes met hers. Elena, she reached for his hand. He froze. You're shaking. I don't want to hurt you. You won't. How do you know? Because you spent months proving that you wouldn't. Then came the night Vincent almost died. He was leaving a business meeting when his convoy was attacked. His driver was injured. 2 guards were shot. Vincent escaped, but not before a bullet struck his chest. Elena received the call at 2:13 a.m. She ran to the hospital. When she saw him through the glass, unconscious and connected to machines, something inside her broke. She pressed her hand against the window. Please. A nurse came out. He lost a lot of blood. Elena's voice cracked. Is he going to live? We don't know yet. She sat beside his bed for hours. Then days. She refused to leave. At one point, Vincent's hand moved. His eyes slowly opened. The first thing he saw was Elena. He tried to speak. She leaned closer. What? His voice was barely audible. Go home. She started crying. No. You shouldn't be here. I am your wife. You don't have to be. Elena grabbed his hand. Yes, I do. Vincent stared at her. She wiped her tears. I love you. His eyes widened. You don't have to say that. I know. She smiled through tears. But I want to. Vincent closed his eyes. A single tear slipped down his cheek. I was so afraid, he whispered. Of dying? No. He looked at her. Of dying before I could tell you. Tell me what? That you're the only good thing that ever happened to me. Vincent survived. But the attack revealed something terrifying. The person behind it wasn't a rival businessman. It was Vincent's uncle, Richard Moretti. Richard had spent years trying to take control of the Moretti empire, and he had discovered Vincent's greatest weakness. Elena. Richard kidnapped her 3 weeks later. She woke up inside an abandoned warehouse. Her hands were tied. Richard stood across from her. You really ruined everything. Elena looked at him. You're the one who tried to kill Vincent. He was supposed to die. Why? Because the company should have been mine. Elena stared at him. You don't love the company. Richard laughed. Love? He stepped closer. People like us don't have time for love. Elena smiled faintly. That's where you're wrong. Richard frowned. Vincent chose love. He chose weakness. No. Elena looked directly into his eyes. He chose me. Richard demanded Vincent sign over the company, but he made one mistake. He underestimated Elena. While Richard was talking, Elena noticed a small security camera in the warehouse. She deliberately knocked over a metal chair. The noise triggered the camera's motion detection. She knew Vincent would be watching. And he was, because Vincent had never stopped looking for her. Within minutes, police and federal agents surrounded the building. Richard tried to escape. He didn't make it far. When Vincent finally entered the warehouse, he ran directly toward Elena. He cut the ropes around her wrists. Are you hurt? She shook her head. I'm okay. He pulled her into his arms. For several seconds, neither spoke. Then Elena whispered, You came. Vincent held her tighter. I'll always come. Months later, Elena stood on the balcony of their home overlooking the city. The same city that once frightened her. Now it looked different. Vincent walked outside carrying 2 cups of coffee. You're awake early. So are you. I couldn't sleep. Why? He handed her a cup. I was thinking. About? He smiled. Our wedding. Elena laughed. You mean the wedding where I looked terrified? You looked beautiful. I was terrified. I know. She looked at him. And you? I was terrified too. You? Vincent nodded. Because I knew I was marrying the woman I would spend the rest of my life loving. Elena smiled. You never told me that. I wasn't sure you'd stay. She reached for his hand. I stayed because you gave me the freedom to leave. Vincent squeezed her fingers. And you? She rested her head against his shoulder. I stayed because I finally realized something. What? Sometimes the person who looks the most dangerous is the one who would never hurt you. Vincent kissed her forehead. And sometimes, he whispered, the woman who was forced into your life becomes the person you choose every day. 1 year later, Elena opened a small community center in Chicago. She called it the Carter House. It provided legal help, housing assistance, and financial support to women trapped in abusive or controlling situations. Vincent funded it quietly. He didn't put his name on the building. When Elena asked why, he simply said, It belongs to you. She smiled. No, it belongs to everyone who needs a second chance. Vincent looked at her proudly. That sounds like you. Elena slipped her hand into his. You know what I used to think? What? I thought love meant someone owning your heart. And now? She looked at him. Now I know love means someone gives you the freedom to keep it. Vincent smiled. And for the first time in his life, the man everyone feared looked completely at peace, because he had finally learned that strength wasn't about controlling people. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about power. It was about having the power to destroy someone and choosing instead to protect them. And Elena learned something too. Her marriage had begun as a bargain she never wanted. But somewhere between the fear, the secrets, the hospital rooms, the quiet cups of coffee, and the countless moments when Vincent chose her, freedom over his own desires, she had found something she never expected. Not a perfect man, not a perfect life, but a man who loved her without asking her to surrender herself. A man who stood beside her rather than above her. A man who had spent his entire life believing love was weakness, until Elena taught him that love was the greatest strength he had ever known. And every morning after that, when Vincent woke beside her, he would look at the woman who had once been forced into his life and smile, because she was no longer his obligation. She was his choice, and he was hers, forever.